Hi guys, it's time for my second to last Bachelor recap of JoJo's season. So this week we had 2 full nights of The Bachelorette. We had Monday night, which was a regular episode. Then Tuesday night we had Men Tell All. And Men Tell All, Women Tell All on The Bachelor Bachelorette is the best episode of the season. So I was really looking forward to that. So I am going to tell you about both episodes. Just like every week that I always mention, if you haven't seen either episode yet and you plan to and you don't want to know what happens, you might want to come back to this video later because I'm going to talk all about who got a rose and what happened. And as always, I took notes, so I will be referring to those notes from time to time. I'll start with Monday's episode. Last week, they left us with a cliffhanger. We did not know who JoJo was going to give a rose to after the hometown dates. So we had 4 guys. We had Luke, Chase, Jordan, and Robbie. And she was ready to send Luke home because she didn't feel that he expressed his feelings as much as the other guys did. They all said they were in love with her. Luke hadn't really said that yet. He kind of did, but not exactly. So she felt that she should send Luke home. Right before the rose ceremony, Luke asked JoJo if they could talk, and he took her aside and told her he was in love with her, and this confused her, and she was pretty distraught about it because now she didn't know what she was going to do, and she thought about it for a while, and then she came back and they had the rose ceremony. JoJo did end up sending Luke home. So on the one hand, I was disappointed that she sent Luke home because I have been a Luke fan from the start of this season, and so I was hoping that she would either pick him or he'd be the next Bachelor. So while they made his departure kind of sad, well, they made his departure pretty sad, I am hoping that Luke is the next Bachelor. I hope that's what this means. In past seasons of both The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, a lot of times the person who comes in 4th place is often the next Bachelor or Bachelorette. It doesn't mean that they're going to be, but that often does happen. And it's often somebody that you really didn't want to see sent home. So I'm just hoping that he is. And there's more on that later. But now we have Jordan, Robbie, and Chase. So what happened was they had the rose ceremony at an airplane hangar with a private jet waiting for them, which I thought was the coolest thing. And they got on the private jet that whisked them off to Thailand. So they got to Thailand. It looks like a beautiful place. I totally would love to visit there someday because it just looks really pretty and there's probably a lot to see. So JoJo's first date was with Robbie. They spent the day together in Thailand. They explored an open market, got foot massages, looked like a really fun day. And then they went to dinner. It was just, these fantasy dates were the same as they usually do every season. They spend the day together, then they go to dinner, then they get the fantasy suite card and decide whether or not to go to the fantasy suite. At dinner, JoJo wore this really pretty orange dress. I totally want that dress. I want a lot of JoJo's dresses. During this time together, Robbie gave JoJo a note. I can't remember whether it was in the fantasy suite or at dinner. Well, they did go to the fantasy suite together. And Robbie, whether it was at dinner or the fantasy suite, Robbie showed and gave JoJo this note that his father gave him after the hometown dates, just really encouraging him and encouraging their relationship. It was a very positive date and it looked like JoJo really likes Robbie. So this whole time I figured she was going to pick Jordan or Luke, but now Jordan. But now, you know what? She could totally pick Robbie. I have no idea who she's going to pick. The next date was with Jordan. And they also, same sort of thing. They spent the day together, then went to dinner. On their date, they went hiking. They went on a really tough hike, but they had really beautiful scenery, so I could see where that could be enjoyable. There was this cave that they saw, and there was a temple in the cave. It was just a very interesting hike. So I think they had still had a nice time together. She's still questioning her feelings for Jordan though. Even during dinner, she talked about her doubts. She's questioning him again. So that's the only thing that I'm wondering about with JoJo and Jordan, because it sounds like they have the same conversation every time they talk, at least what we see on television. So I'm not sure if that, like, on the one hand, she looks like she's going to pick Jordan, but on the other hand, she's always doubting it, so maybe she's not going to pick him. Who knows? Because now it looks like she's into both Jordan and Robbie. So JoJo and Jordan did seem to enjoy their time together, and they went to the fantasy suite as well. And the last date was with Chase. Now they again had the same sort of date. During the day, they went on a boat ride, they hung out on the beach, and then JoJo went to her room, I guess probably to get ready for dinner, and Robbie showed up. And he said he missed her, and she seemed like, on the one hand, she seemed happy to see him. On the other hand, she's like, I'm in the middle of a date, gotta get ready here. So they just spent a little bit of time together, and then he went off on his merry way. So then JoJo went back on her date with Chase. They went to dinner, and then she did invite Chase back to the fantasy suite. So they're in the fantasy suite and they're talking, and Chase pours his heart out to JoJo, telling her how he feels. He did tell her he was in love with her but he's just pouring his heart out to her now. She had to take a moment, go outside and collect her thoughts. Then she came back, told Chase that she wasn't sure that they were on the same page, and then sent him home. Robbie was understandably upset. And JoJo, I'm sure it wasn't intentional. She said later on that she had that clarity at that time and really felt like she was doing the right thing. And that's true. I mean, I think for both of them, you don't want to, she didn't want to lead him on, and it would have been excruciating for her. That was probably best, even though it was upsetting for both of them, because of course he got upset because here he is, yay, I'm in the fantasy suite, and then, oh, I'm being sent home. So I totally get how he felt. I also got how she felt, because she probably felt that she wanted to give him a chance, but then she got that clarity and she knew what she needed to do. So we're at the rose ceremony, and it's just Jordan and Robbie. Chase is not there. So JoJo was in the process of telling Jordan and Robbie that Chase wasn't there and why, and then Robbie showed up. Because they really, the night before, they had ended things on a very uneasy note. So Chase showed up, he wanted to talk to JoJo. So Chase told JoJo that he was over the initial shock of being sent home from the fantasy suite, and he just wanted to end things on a positive note. He just wanted that closure. Then JoJo resumed the rose ceremony. So now we are down to Jordan and Robbie. So next week we will find out who JoJo gives her final rose to. I don't know who she's going to pick. I have no idea. Like I said before, she has seemed really into Jordan this whole time, but now she really seems to like Robbie too. So I'm not sure if we were being led down the Jordan path to think that she was going to pick him and then she actually picks Robbie, or maybe we weren't led down any path. Maybe this is really how she felt and who she, is picking, and who knows? We will just find out next week. So Monday night was a regular episode, and then Tuesday night was the Chad show. I mean, Bachelorette Men Tell All. Yeah, they spent a whole lot of time on Chad. Chad clearly was our villain of the season, and so they did focus a lot on him. Gosh, they spent maybe almost the first hour on Chad. There was clearly a lot of conflict between Chad and the rest of the guys, and so that was a big focus for most of the episode, or at least half the episode. Well, not most, because even the second hour, some of it still went back to Chad. But in any case, the Bachelorette Men Tell All, it's usually the best episode of the season, and it was still really enjoyable. They always bring back a number of the contenders from the season so that they talk about what happened. They ask the Bachelor or Bachelorette questions, get some closure on some certain situations that happened over the season, and it's just a really fun time. So the contenders that were there for Men Tell All were James S., Grant, Ali, Brandon, Christian, Nick B., Derek, James F., Jonathan, Vinny, Evan, Wells, James Taylor, Alex, Chase, Luke, and Chad. So they recapped all of the drama from this season and the conflicts among the guys. So Chad was not the only person who had conflict with others in the house. Of course, when you get a bunch of people in one house and you don't have anything, you don't have television, your phones, anything really to do, there's probably going to be some conflict, especially when all of them are competing for the same girl. So there's going to be some conflict there. Luke seemed to be the voice of reason. For the most part, Luke stayed out of trouble. And that's one of the things I liked about him from the start. He tended to stay out of trouble. In this case, he was the voice of reason and didn't really get into the drama. That's one of the reasons why I like him. I think he's just a really solid guy, and I hope he's the Bachelor, fingers crossed. Chad was in the hot seat. Of course, there, you know, like I mentioned, there was a lot of drama there. They spent a lot of time on it. Yeah, that's really all I'm gonna address with that because it was just an hour worth of drama there. And then we had Luke in the hot seat. So he talked with Chris Harrison about how he was shocked to be sent home, and they really did make it. I mean, he looked very stunned, and they just made it really sad. You really felt for Luke, but at the same time, you felt for Luke, but you're like, but maybe he'll be the Bachelor, so it'll be okay. So I'm really hoping that they're going in that direction. He said that looking back, he held back and maybe should have expressed his feelings more with JoJo. But if that's just not him, maybe he needs to do that when he's ready. And maybe at that point he just wasn't ready. Even if he felt it, maybe he just wasn't ready. He fell in love with JoJo. He wants her to be happy. He's such a gentleman, and he did say though that he is ready to fall in love again. Chris Harrison was asking him this, he was saying this, so I really hope that they were setting the stage for Luke to be the next Bachelor. Maybe they might announce it next week on After the Final Rose. Maybe they won't, we shall see, but I'm really hoping that that's the case. Then they put Chase in the hot seat. They recapped his time on the show, and you know, they showed where he was sent home from the fantasy suite. Then he talked to Chris Harrison about that. Like I said before, that did look painful, and I'm sure it wasn't intentional on JoJo's part, but you know, he still seemed upset. So then JoJo was in the hot seat, and first they addressed Luke. Luke thanked JoJo for the experience and for letting him love her. He was such a gentleman. Luke for Bachelor, yay! And then Chase was then addressed, and he asked her why she gave him the fantasy suite card, because he was like, look, if you knew you were going to send me home, why did you give me that fantasy suite card? She even admitted that she didn't know if she handled that correctly. She said she just had that clarity at that moment when they were talking and he was just, you know, really pouring his heart out. That's when she had that clarity, and that's when she just knew that she needed to send him home. Chase told her not to feel bad about it. He was a real gentleman about it as well, so they ended that on a positive note. And then they addressed Chad. Chad wished her luck with Jordan and Robbie and then proceeded to insult Jordan and Robbie. And then the guys asked her questions, you know, just each of them asked her questions about, you know, their situation with her on the show. And then Vinny's mom was there. She stood up and she said, JoJo made a big mistake and Vinny's a great guy and he's still single, ladies. So our final two guys are Robbie and Jordan. I have no idea which of them she's going to pick next week, so I cannot wait till next week to find out. Whoever she picks though, I hope that it is one of the successful Bachelor-Bachelorette relationships, and I hope that she ends up happy. So let me know in the comments below, are you Team Jordan or Team Robbie? And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more Bachelorette recaps and to be the first to know about all of my beauty, fashion, and lifestyle videos, and I will see you all next week. Bye!